On Channel 2 News at 5 and 6.
It has been one of the Western world's greatest fears that Saddam Hussein and Iraq would become members of the world's most exclusive club. Now, dramatic video and secret documents obtained by United Nations inspectors outline the scope of the Iraqi nuclear program.
They had a vast nuclear program with over 10,000 people involved in it.
Tonight, how close Saddam Hussein actually came to building the bomb and how U.S. companies helped him.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Roughly a year ago, when President Bush and other senior members of his administration were making the case that the defensive posture of Operation Desert Shield had to be replaced by the offensive capabilities of Operation Desert Storm, a number of reasons were cited. Among them, but not all that prominently among them, was the suggestion that Iraq might be within a few years of developing a nuclear military capability. What was not stated at the time, very possibly because U.S. intelligence didn't know it, was just how imminent that danger was. It was only after the war and after UN inspection teams began aggressively to investigate Iraq's nuclear capability that several alarming realities became clear. Iraq's nuclear program was a lot bigger and a lot closer to being a genuine threat than most government experts had previously believed, or at least revealed. And much of what the Iraqis had used in developing that program came from the West, including U.S. companies. That is the focus of our broadcast tonight, beginning with this report from John Martin.
This is the Dawn Patrol in the nuclear age. United Nations inspectors on the trail of secret documents and equipment inside Iraq.
In the process of identifying the documents as we entered various rooms, we certainly scanned very quickly, and there were a few of the documents that we immediately realized their import.
But I do want to make sure that we are going to be able to leave this evening with those documents.
That's your viewpoint, but we have a different viewpoint on this matter.
We're heading for the front gate of the facility. 2 Iraqi soldiers are moving to the side, and we have 2 vehicles blocking our way.
Flash Vienna, forcibly removing documents from convoy.
These are the top secret documents from the Iraqi nuclear program that were taken out of the vehicles at the gate.
A lot of smoke coming out of almost the top balconies.
Crucial documents may have gone up in smoke, but from 40,000 pages of confiscated materials, the United Nations has discovered that Iraq's nuclear weapons industry was far bigger and more sophisticated than Western intelligence ever imagined. Saddam Hussein intended to turn Iraq into a nuclear weapons power, and he might have succeeded not within 5 years, but 12 to 18 months. Even now, with so many documents missing and the likelihood that much of Iraq's nuclear equipment has been hidden away, there is every reason to believe that Saddam Hussein still has the nuclear ambition. Dr. Hans Blix is the director of the International Atomic Energy Agency.
They had a vast nuclear program with over 10,000 people involved in it, and this was for a weapons production. The fact that we have gradually discovered so much more is disturbing, and we are stretching our arm down into the barrel, and we are coming up with more and more.
To develop a nuclear weapons program, here is what Iraq had to do. 1, it needed a design for a nuclear bomb. 2, it needed the components to make the mechanism that would trigger a nuclear explosion. Reflectors, lenses, software to simulate conditions. 3, it needed a supply of radioactive material, either plutonium or enriched uranium. This requires an industry of its own to refine weapons-grade materials. And 4, it needed a way to get the weapon to the target, a missile delivery system. What has astonished Western experts and analysts is that Iraq was able to carry on all these programs simultaneously and secretly. 50 years ago, in the vast Manhattan Project to develop the atomic bomb, the United States faced a similar challenge.
There are some very startling similarities between the Iraqi program and the Manhattan Project. In the Manhattan Project during World War II, we didn't know which of the different technologies was going to be successful, so we tried them all at once. The Iraqis did very much the same thing.
Even in the Manhattan Project, the United States did not try to design a nuclear weapon, make the nuclear weapon material, design a big super gun to shoot at 400 miles, and also design a missile system to deliver it. We were trying to do the first couple or three things, but I don't know of any country that's tried to do them all simultaneously to the extent that Saddam has tried. The man had a breathtakingly large array of activities going on at once.
Designing the weapon came first. UN inspectors found this top-secret progress report. It is proof, they say, that Iraq had moved into a fifth generation of design using information and testing equipment purchased from a network of private companies around the world, including the United States.
Iraq got oscilloscopes from the Tektronix company in the United States, which could have nuclear applications and would be useful in diagnosing a nuclear weapon test, for example. But this went out with a Commerce Department license. It looks as if Iraq spent a lot of time studying the Western export control system, in particular ours, and figuring out ways to defeat it. And it looks, from what we are finding in Iraq now, that they were very successful.
Al Athir is where Iraq moved the headquarters for its design program early last year. It was a sophisticated nuclear physics research facility devoted to weapons design and manufacture. Yet Western intelligence was unaware of its purpose, and Allied planes barely damaged the complex.
We were not looking as hard as we could have and should have at Iraq. Iraq during the mid-1980s was treated as not exactly an ally, but not an enemy either.
Creating nuclear materials to fuel the weapon came next. Iraq began secretly processing natural uranium from its own mines and purchasing it overseas. Last June, United Nations inspectors got a tip and a surprise. A defecting Iraqi engineer pointed inspectors to a major uranium enrichment project. The Iraqis tried to hide their equipment during a wild chase.
Go get him, Kiwi! Go get him, boy!
The inspectors discovered that Iraq had built sophisticated devices called calutrons to separate the uranium.
We simply missed it. We had no idea it was even there. I think that should cause us to reevaluate our intelligence gathering capabilities.
Iraq had more surprises. It was experimenting with a way of enriching uranium with gas centrifuges based on foreign technology.
There are a number of small German companies that were used as conduits to export the technology which has been supporting the centrifuge program. The employees involved were ex-employees of a company in Germany called MAN Technologie.
Next came the drive for a missile delivery system to target enemies with nuclear warheads.
So there was a linkage. I mean, they did have missiles. They had Scud missiles, we all know that, but there was a linkage between the nuclear weaponization program and a missile program. Not very surprisingly, actually.
All of the electronic infrastructure you need to support a big missile design program went to SOD 16 from the United States. The primary supplier was the Hewlett-Packard Company. Millions of dollars worth of its exports went to SOD 16, all licensed by the Commerce Department, and the Commerce Department knew that SOD 16 was a missile development site.
The United Nations knocked out another form of propulsion technology, this gigantic supergun with a range of up to 700 miles. It was discovered and destroyed by UN technicians. What worries intelligence analysts is that the more the UN inspectors find, the less the West is sure it knows of what went on in Iraq. It is this fear of the unknown, of what might still be hidden away, that is driving the outside world to press for more dawn patrols. Patrols that will continue digging throughout Iraq for many years to come. This is John Martin for Nightline in Washington.
When we come back, Iraq's ambassador to the United Nations, Abdullah Mir Al-Anbari, who says Iraq is now fully complying with UN requests. And David Kay, one of the leaders of the UN inspection team that's trying to uncover the scope of Iraq's nuclear weapons program.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Ford Motor Company.
Ford Motor Company profiles in quality, employee involvement,
If they're working together, you'll do a better job. I said that back in '82, and the quality of our cars and trucks is proof that it's working today.
Money alone won't build quality cars. You've got to have better designs.
Better designs don't mean a thing unless engineering can live up to the designs.
Engineering works only when everyone is committed to quality.
Our goal is to build the highest quality cars and trucks in the world.
At Ford, quality is job one. Did you know that the most valuable patent ever issued went to a small business owner, Alexander Graham Bell? Since then, AT&T has stayed on the cutting edge of communications. For example, AT&T just invented a new 800 service for small businesses. It uses your existing line and costs only $6 a month. At AT&T, almost half our business comes from small business. When you succeed, we succeed. Call about our 800 offer.
All Burlington warehouses join in celebrating the grand opening of the new Burlington Coat Factory.
Wait till you see the famous labels.
Wait till you see the low prices.
On designer label fashions for women.
And save on famous brand menswear.
Kids' clothes and baby furniture. Luxury linens, too.
With all this, why call it Burlington Coat Factory?
Because they have more of these than anybody.
Come to Burlington's grand opening and see why America's #1 place to save on coats is America's #1 place to save on everything.
I don't ask why and I don't ask how. That's because I already know where. Right here.
For Ace Best Buys of the Week, nationally branded products, money-saving prices. Ames Green Sweeper Wide Sweep Lawn Rake is light and easy to use, has no metal parts to rust. Wide head rakes more faster, only $4.88. 2 4-packs of GE soft white light bulbs in 40, 60, 75, and 100-watt sizes. After available rebate, only $1.99. These and other Best Buys are participating Ace hardware dealers.
Hey, Ace is the place for me.
How to survive an airplane crash. We'll tell you what you need to know to stay alive if your plane goes down. A crash course in survival.
On 2020, Friday.
Earlier today, I talked with Iraq's ambassador to the United Nations, Abdul Amir Al-Anbari, who joined us from our New York studios, and from our Washington bureau, David Kay, one of the leaders of the UN teams that for 6 months now have been searching for evidence that Iraq was trying to build nuclear weapons. Mr. Kay testified today before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Dr. Al-Anbari, would it be fair to say that you would not have been privy to the nuclear program in which your government was engaging? In other words, there was no reason for you to know precisely what was going on.
You are right, but I have to say that the UN inspectors have changed the rules of the game, because all what they have said is totally irrelevant to Resolution 687 of the United Nations, which simply commanded or required that Iraq would have all its mass destruction weapons destroyed and that it would forego any research in the future. That's all what the resolution asks, and that's all what the inspectors are to do. They have nothing to do with the future intention or planning of the Iraq government.
But the reason I began my question to you that way is, since you obviously have been put out as one of the leading spokesmen of your government in this country, and others who have been put out presumably also may not have known what was going on, unless and until the world community can be reassured that it knows what Iraq was doing, it's very difficult to find a starting point from which to proceed.
But they have been totally free to go anywhere, anytime, to inspect any site and to seize any document or machinery they have. And so far, over a period of 3 or 4 months, 7 teams, each one of them is consisting of 40 to 50 members, some of them scientists, some other functions they do. And they have inspected almost every building and every part of the country, and we are still cooperating with them.
Dr. Kay, if I may interrupt you, Dr. Al-Anbari, when Dr. Al-Anbari talks about the complete freedom with which you were able to move around, obviously we all have memories of you being stuck in a parking lot for several days, so that freedom did have its limitations, didn't it?
Well, it certainly did for us, and on several occasions, not just during the 6th inspection. During the 2nd inspection, we were denied entry to Abu Ghraib military base and Fallujah for the purposes of inspection. I certainly didn't feel like we had freedom of movement then.
Give us a sense now from what you have discovered and from the analysis, which I gather is still ongoing, and from what your teams are doing in Iraq at the moment. Give us a sense of how far along that nuclear program was.
Well, that is a difficult question to answer, because we have had from the very beginning an incomplete declaration by Iraq as to what its program was. So we're still mapping. Our assessment at mid-course right now is that the program was parallel, broad-scoped, and very sophisticated in the way it was approaching the problem.
And it could not have done what it did. When I say it, I mean the government of Iraq, without the cooperation of certainly a lot of foreign companies. Is it even possible some foreign governments, including our own?
I've seen no evidence that there has been direct foreign government participation in the program at all. In fact, I think the program is an indigenous Iraqi program, using foreign expertise and supplies where necessary.
Now, what about the foreign companies? I know that you folks have been able to compile a list using Iraqi documents of some of the foreign companies that were involved, including U.S. companies. At which point, if at all, will that list ever be made public?
Well, the position right now is, and we're still working on this list, there is not a complete list, is that countries who approach us about companies of their own, we will supply the information that we currently have. The ultimate disposition of this list is, of course, in the hands, really, of the Security Council.
Now, what about the ultimate disposition of the lists that are given to independent countries, the German government, the British government, the U.S. government? Is there reason to believe that the publics of those different countries will ever find out who in their country was participating in and contributing to the Iraqi nuclear program?
I think that will be up to the individual countries involved in their own national decision-making process.
Now, Dr. Al-Anbari, you have already indicated some displeasure with the UN process in your country. In point of fact, what they are looking for right now is even more draconian than anything that has happened in the past. They are requiring that UN teams be allowed to go where they want, when they want, at little or no notice, to the point that I suppose you could argue that whatever national independence you have is being set aside for a while. Correct?
Well, as a matter of fact, they are occupying the country by remote control and sometimes by physical occupation. But I don't think that this will be practically could be carried out by any UN team or any inspectors.
What is it specifically that you object to?
Well, I don't know. I think, you know, there is a saying in Arabic that if you want to be obeyed, don't ask for the impossible. What they have asked in their last resolution, 715, it's simply impossible to carry out. Namely that Iraq should supply any information, any material, any time, completely, promptly, without any delay, answer any question, no matter how senseless, how sensible, or unsensible. So it's very easy in the future to accuse Iraq that it has violated the resolution. And it's very easy to say that, well, we cannot simply implement that resolution the way it has been stipulated.
Let's take a break. When we come back, Dr. Kay, I'd like you to address the question of how reasonable, how practical, and how likely it is that the Iraqis will be able to comply with what the UN is now asking for. We'll continue our discussion in a moment.
Three years ago, we set out to create a sports sedan. But first and foremost, we set out to create a Lexus. Introducing the new Lexus ES 300 Sports Sedan.
It's Sears' biggest hardware sale, and it's happening right now. Like this Craftsman 3.5 horsepower, 15-gallon compressor. Save $50. This Craftsman half horsepower garage door opener with two 3-function transmitters. Only $149.99. And save $100 on this Craftsman 5 horsepower chipper shredder. Shreds limbs and branches up to 3 inches in diameter. It's Sears' biggest hardware sale, and it's happening right now. So hurry to Sears today.
High school football is here, and that means it's time for Channel 2's Food to Families Football Challenge. Each week, 2 special schools compete by collecting cans of food to help feed needy families. Channel 2's Can Man will be there to announce the winner at every game. So, Can Man, who's in this week's challenge?
It's between McGavick High School and Oakland High School this Thursday, Ann.
So support these schools as they collect cans of food for Second Harvest Food Bank. And remember, in this challenge, everyone's a winner.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight. And all she wants to do is dance. Tonight I gotta cut loose, put loose.
It's the grand opening of Furniture Factory Outlet, Nashville's newest, most exciting furniture showroom. 50,000 square feet of name brand furniture at lowest guaranteed prices every day. You've seen this fully reclining sofa on sale from $5.99 to $8.99. During our grand opening, while they last, this fully reclining sofa is an unheard of $444. This is just one of our incredible values. Proof at Furniture Factory Outlet, we save you money.
The highly touted interview, Barbara Walters with the Quails.
Your husband has said that you are one of his top advisors.
Without a doubt.
On 2020 Friday.
Tomorrow, an exclusive interview with White House Chief of Staff John Sununu.
Also, James Galway performs, and the youngest movie director ever on Good Morning America tomorrow.
Dr. Kay, you heard what Dr. Ellen Barry had to say a few moments ago about the impracticality of what the UN is asking for right now. Do you agree?
No, I don't think at all that it's impractical or impossible. 715, first of all, is a Security Council resolution, and the role of the inspectors is simply to implement that resolution. The resolution is designed to provide the international community with security over a long term that Iraq has not resumed its clandestine program of producing weapons of mass destruction. It will be an intrusive inspection regime, there is no doubt about that, but that is necessary by the very clandestine nature that the Iraqis in the past pursued that program.
What about the sovereignty of Iraq as a nation?
Well, that is a question more appropriately addressed to lawyers. As I say, our task is really defined by the Security Council in passing the resolution, which passes on to the inspectorate the task of implementing it.
Let me comment on that, Mr. Koppel. I don't think the UN or the Security Council authorized the inspector team to pass information directly to their own government without the consent of the United Nations. This is why Iraq is very suspicious of the motives and the integrity, really, of some members, at least, of the inspection team. So they don't put the UN umbrella, and then they apply, really, all sorts of tactics which are either theatrical or illegal.
You've never shrunk before from being specific, so please don't shrink from it now. Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about the gentleman he's on the interview. And he has been, as a matter of fact, I don't know whether he's penalized or not, but the UN admitted that he did violate his mandate.
Violated it in what sense? And then we'll let Dr. Kay respond.
In the sense in passing information directly to Washington without the consent or the prior knowledge of the United Nations.
Dr. Kay?
Well, I think that this is confusion about several incidences moved together. I personally can assure Dr. Alan-Bari that I have never, during the course of an inspection, passed any information directly to Washington. There was one occasion during the 6th inspection, which we were trying to get a report from the parking lot, failed to get a circuit to either Vienna or New York, and one team member managed to get a circuit open to Washington for the purpose of transmitting a report of the team, not a document, for retransmission to New York and Vienna. It certainly was an unusual set of circumstances, not a normal procedure, but in fact I think certainly the Director General of the IEA and others have spoken to me not in unfavorable terms about it, but as an operational necessity under a very difficult set of circumstances.
Dr. Alan-Bari, I mean, among the things that we are now learning are many of the things that you, among other Iraqi officials, have been denying in this forum and in many, many others over the past year or more, namely the existence of these superguns, ranging from a supergun that was able to fire shells 150 miles to apparently one that was not completed that would have had the capacity of firing shells some 400 miles. What was the purpose of that supergun?
Well, I really don't know the purpose, but the important thing that none found any weapon, nuclear or biological or other things which they have been looking for.
I think you're wrong on that, Dr. Alan-Bari, and I defer to Dr. Kay. We were talking just before the program. He tells me indeed such shells were found. Dr. Kay?
Well, we have certainly found a number of things. Clandestine enrichment programs. We found other inspector teams have found Scud warheads loaded for chemicals. There's a vast range of weaponry that has been found in Iraq.
None of them is relevant. None of them is relevant. Let us keep to the framework of Resolution 687, which requires the destruction of whatever weapons you have or you can find, you put hand on. So why speculate about the future intention or about the future program of Iraq? No government on earth announced its future plan in nuclear energy.
I think
not
perhaps
the United States or Israel or Germany or any other country.
I think perhaps there's a slight note of confusion here, because when Dr. Kay speaks about Scud missiles loaded with chemical warheads, that has nothing to do with the future. That has to do with what already exists.
No, I'm talking about the nuclear program future.
I understand, but I was talking about the chemical warheads on the Scud missiles.
Okay, they can destroy it, and I believe they did destroy it.
What's going... please, finish.
And that's within the terms of reference of Resolution 687. Please don't go into speculation. We have really nothing to do with the future planning or what could have been planning of the Iraq government. The important thing is now to destroy all mass destruction weapons in an orderly, fashionable, courteous way, and also to have Iraq undertaking not to produce any in the future, which we have did, and we did send a letter undertaking not to do so.
Dr. Al-Ambari, I mean no personal offense to you, but why should anyone believe an undertaking of the Iraqi government when quite clearly the Iraqi government has been lying about all those undertakings that it's made in previous years?
Well, no government, as I said, don't forget that in 1981 we were unprovokedly attacked by Israel, and they destroy our peaceful nuclear reactor. So we have good reason to really not to announce or to declare our program. Secondly, no government, United States or otherwise, have announced its future nuclear program. And all governments, I tell you, once in a while, they make all sorts of false claims and accusations.
Dr. Kay, we only have a few seconds left in this segment. How are you going to be able to establish a baseline of where the Iraqi nuclear program really stands without, on the one hand, totally intruding on Iraq's sovereignty, and on the other hand, accepting their word?
Well, I think, in fact, we are going to have a vigorous inspection regime, and that is the only way to get at the truth. We have had now, I think, by count, 5 successive declarations by the Iraqi government as to what their program was. Each has been larger than the previous. We simply cannot rely at this point on truth because the deception pattern has been too bold and too long.
Dr. Kay, I thank you very much. Dr. Al-Ambari, as always, it's good to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
I'll be back in a moment with a program note.
How'd you get those flowers in there? Glade potpourri, it freshens the air. Where'd you get them herbs and spice? Glade potpourri, it smells so nice.
And now, there's new, longer-lasting Glade Carpet Potpourri. So now the freshness lasts even longer. Spray it, shake it, or pump it.
No potpourris like Glade.
A high-output 4-liter engine, anti-lock brakes, and shift-on-the-fly full-time 4-wheel drive. Make Jeep Cherokee the ultimate vehicle for the hustle and bustle of everyday life.
Now save $1,000 on new Jeep Cherokees.
Radio Shack, America's technology store.
Shop Radio Shack for Tandy Computers, the best-selling PC compatibles in America. Like this easy-to-use home organizer computer system with hard drive and color monitor, only $899.95. Or our special edition 20 megahertz 386SX system with 85 megabyte hard drive, mouse, modem, and software, just $12.99. Great selection, superior service. Radio Shack, America's technology store since 1921. Nobody compares.
I'm alive, Jeff Hashimoto.
I'm alive, Rhonda Williamson.
I'm alive, Sonia Schofield.
I'm alive, Howard Weber.
Want to get more out of life?
I'm alive, Jessica Weber.
Get airbags. See your Allstate agent for a list of cars with airbags.
We're alive.
Tomorrow on 2020, Barbara Walters interviews Vice President Dan Quayle and his wife, Marilyn. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
Nightline is a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
America's watching ABC.